Alright, here it is. This is going to be a pretty definitive little video here on, I don't know, I'll say all in quotes of the Willard, the Seiko 6105 Willard homages. I'm going to go over them individually here with this original, well, not original, but the new Seiko reissue. Turtle from around 2017. This is the first watch I acquired months ago that got me back into this hobby. We got an A.D.D dive here. This was my first purchase when I figured out what a Willard was. I was exposed to it and I was like, oh, I started doing all the research. Great watch. I then got another SteelDive version of this watch, which I gave to my nephew. Then I picked up this SteelDive in bronze, which I absolutely love. Very cool looking watch. And then I learned about this Detroit Mint, which is much, much closer to the original. And then I just got this Redune AN, which, as you can see here, has the details that even the new Seiko reissue doesn't have. So we'll get in these details. I'll break out the calipers, and listen, they're all for sale for the most part. Not this one, and not the Redune. I'm going to hold on to those. I'm going to give you guys some options if you're interested. Let's get down to it. Welcome to the Palooka Watch Channel. Quick wrist check. This is this new cheapo AliExpress, and I say cheapo because of price, not because of quality. Stainless steel case, ceramic, or excuse me, plexiglass bubble bezel insert there, sapphire crystal screw down locking crown, signed Seiko crown, 22mm lug width. This is on a different 22mm band, not the 20mm I'd made myself, and I'm digging on this. I love the legibility in the shop. All right, now, this watch, which is all beat up, as you can see, I picked up from a friend of mine in a trade. I keep saying in videos that he gave this to me. In a way, I almost feel like he did, but super cool guy. And, you know, we were talking about it as I was going down the rabbit hole on research, and he's like, just get yourself a Willard. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what he meant. Had no idea. And so we were talking on the phone, and, you know, before I get too far ahead there, just so you guys know, this is what's called a turtle. This is what evolved. All right, this is what a turtle looks like today. It's called a turtle because just look at it here. You would see the head, front flipper, rear flipper, shell. Should be pretty self-explanatory for you. People call this bezel edge here the grenade style. It's got a cushion case, drilled lugs. It's a Pro Specs model, which means it meets all the ISO diver certify specs. I didn't even set this one, actually, compared to all the others. I just took this out of the box. It wasn't running. Now, I went and looked, and I found this new Willard, which was going for $1,100. I think they're $1,100 to $1,300 right now. I got a deal on it. It originally came on this rubber, very nice actually, rubber Seiko strap, very supple, signed hardware. So if you want to buy this watch, contact me. You will not be paying full retail. It's a new watch. I think I recall looking at this on Zoom, and it looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that's right. Right here by the 20, right there by the 2, you see that little kind of like a nick? You cannot see that when you're looking at it with your eyeballs. And I don't think that, I mean, this was new in the box when I got it. So I think that might have been just some, like a manufacturing error or something. There's no scratches anywhere. There's no wear on this whatsoever. The polishing is great. But for those who are anal retentive, yeah, coin edge bezel, domed crystal, sapphire. Oh, I forget the movement. I think it's called the S736, 34, something like that. It has a 71-hour power reserve. And, you know, Seiko mimicked the original details to a certain extent. They scaled it down. They made it a little bit smaller. So when I picked this up, it's a beautiful watch, right? I love the chamfer around that crystal before you get to the dome. Wears well on the wrist. Beautiful watch. But, you know, I jumped on this quicker than I probably should have. Not because of the money. That doesn't bother me so much. But if I'm going to have something that's like a historical piece, a military piece, you know, the real history, I want something that's more accurate. This is not accurate to the original. It's something that Seiko did, you know, to make some money, and I don't blame them. So we've got this watch here, which is very cool. Then I started looking more, and I learned about A.D.'s dive and SteelDive, right? So I picked up this A.D.'s dive, and I got to tell you, this is much better. Now, it's not better than a Seiko necessarily. Hear me out. When I say better, I mean closer to the original. It does not have a domed crystal. It's raised, got a nice chamfer. You know, 4 o'clock crown. A.D.'s dive does a really nice thing with their logo. We've got a signed crown here. It's on the back. I think it's a very cool logo. That's a mask, spear guns, 200-meter water resistance. The original only had 150. Again, coin edge bezel. Even the machining here is circular, just like the original. Let's eyeball this Seiko here. I'm sure they did that. Yeah. And let me break out the calipers just on these two to compare them. Trust me, we're going to get to the other watches. Always remember to zero. So the new Seiko case comes in at 42, 42.4, 42.3. Just in comparison to the modern Turtle, you know, you've got a full-on 44.8 here. Now, the A.D.'s dive, which is supposed to be much closer to the original in specs, the width is 43.7, 43.8, and I believe they call the original Willard a 44. So I got this. It wears great on the wrist. People will complain about this bracelet. I have no complaints. I love this bracelet. It fits me great. By the way, if you do want to buy this from me, it will come with the extra links. It did come in this box with all the paperwork and a manual and all that good stuff. And the box is actually kind of nice. I like these. So, all right. So I bought that. And then I was looking around at watches and I saw the bronze case, which I just love this thing. Totally love it. I am willing to part with this watch. It's just, I'm slightly reluctant to, because it's like the only bronze I have. It'd be nice to have it in the collection. I bought a bunch of watches. I'll be doing more reviews, many of which I'm keeping, but others I'm selling. I buy them because I wanted to do the videos and compare them and kind of talk about the progression, the history of dive watches along the way. And I'm not a super expert. I'm just learning all this. This watch, the lume on this it's all blue and it matches. So the hands, the indices on the dial, and the entire bezel, all the markings and everything on the bezel, all glow in a blue. It is absolutely stunning. Yeah, patinas. I put this on a bund because I did get a little green mark on my wrist in Arizona wearing this without one. And yeah, so this has the same specs pretty much. I'm only measuring the width on this right now. This one's actually a little wider, 44. Dead on 44. This is the SteelDive. We've got a 13.6 on the height. We got a 13.4 here on the new Seiko. We got a 13.8 here. Lug width, we've got, I believe these are all 20 millimeter. Yeah, these are all 20 millimeter lug widths, and none of which are correct for the original, okay? So, I don't know if I want to leave all these in here because they're going to screw up my zoom, but we'll see. Now, I found this, the Detroit Mint. Now, wow, huh? Boy, did this guy do a good job on this watch. Beautiful. The crown even looks almost correct. It just isn't signed right. There should be the word lock with an arrow, which is another thing that Seiko did not do here with the reissue. I mean, that's kind of lazy, in my opinion. They could have done that. This Detroit Mint, let's get these out of the way here. The Detroit Mint has the dome sapphire crystal, coin edge bezel, polish, cushion case. It's all the same. They even signed their hardware. Hands are shaky because it's I just had some caffeine. This watch, I did buy this one used. It was a good deal. You can look them up. So a little scratching on the back, but it doesn't really detract from anything. Again, 200-meter water resistance. This has a raised pip, which is not accurate to the original Seiko from The original one came out in 1968 with like 150 units. Most people say it's a 1969, 1970. That's all fine. This one has a ceramic bezel insert. Again, not original. The A.D.D dive, steel dives, all same ceramic bezel inserts. If you see any schmutz on it, that's all it is. There's no marks on these, no scratches or anything else. Same here. Again, ceramic bezel insert. The new Seiko did get it right with that. They've got an aluminum bezel. This green is, I think, the most beautiful version of all the Seiko reissue Willards. This is the one to have. If nobody wants this, I don't mind holding on to it, to be honest with you. I think it'll be worth a lot more money in the future. Now, the neat thing about this version here with the Detroit Mint is they put it on a tropical strap, very reminiscent of what they had in Vietnam. They've got the 20mm lug, but they tapered this band back down to 19, which is what the original came on. Speaking of the original, let's just get to it. This is the Redune. This here is the most accurate version, the closest version you can buy that I'm aware of to what the Seiko 6105 looked like. All the specs, other than the dial. So if you love the 6105 and you don't want to splurge on an original from the time period, which is either going to be refurbished and cost you a ton of money, or you're going to have to refurbish it if you want to wear it, unless you want to just have it in the collection if it's not really working or looking good, because all of the originals had an issue with the gasket at the crown. It was new technology at the time. So eventually it broke down and moisture did get into these. That's why when you look at the originals and you look at the lume on all of the indices, you'll see a lot of black and all sorts of corrosion. You can buy this watch and get yourself something here where all you have to do is get a reissue Seiko reproduction, whichever one you want to look for. Because the modding of this, everybody wants something that looks like the original, is so popular, those dials are actually kind of expensive. You might find them for around $30, but I've seen them for $60, $85, over $100 just for the Seiko dial. And it will say 6105 right here, between 6 and 7, and the other markers there. It's got the Seiko logo. Looking at this here, I guess the one thing, this does look like a ceramic bezel insert. Hang on a second, let me put my readers on. No, I think that is aluminum. It's not as shiny as the ceramics. So the other thing they really nailed is the pip at the top here in the triangle. That's exactly as a Seiko is. They did a great job on the, the crown here. That's what the originals kind of looked like. It may be, I thought I heard or read somewhere that it's the opposite direction on the original, where the arrow points in the other direction. Because that is counterclockwise, that would actually loosen it. Even the little crown guard on this side is shorter, as it was on the original. I believe that's correct. This is brand new, just took it out of the box. The really cool thing is the strap. This is what they call the chocolate bar, and this is correct. This is what the original came on. Also, 19mm lugs. A lot of people don't like that. They say it's harder to get straps. That used to be the case. However, there's a plethora of choices on 19mm straps now. It even says it right here. This strap is so accurate. This is the best rubber, in quotes, strap that I have. And this watch will stay on the strap. I don't like wearing a watch like this on a rubber like this. I don't like wearing rubber straps on any watch because I just don't like the way it feels on my wrist after a while, especially if you're outside, it's hot, and things get grimy. But because of this being a historical piece, in my mind, that's all I care about. This is going to live like this. I'll put it on from time to time. I'm keeping this watch. And I can see myself doing the mod and replacing the dial. You know, point of interest here is the second hand everybody wants to talk about. It's what's called the stoplight second hand. It's beautiful. It's loomed. That red dot gives you quick visibility in daylight, and at night, you know, it's got the loom. Again, on a dive watch, second hand is important because if you are underwater, at a quick glance, you can tell that your watch is actually working. The machining is perfect. I will say that the transition between the polishing and the brushing is a little sharp here, which that might be how the original was. I mean, a watch company that takes it this far as copying everything, they're pretty good, and that's probably what happened. I think that they became softer with it over time. Actually, well, hang on a second. This is the Seiko, and it is also sharp, so they must have copied that. The other versions, a little bit more rounded, a little prettier in my opinion, and nicer on the fingers. So that is fascinating. Didn't even notice that. Again, this is a 44, look at this, 44.5. It is, let's zoom you out a little bit. And the thickness is 13 on the dot. I've already mentioned the lug width is, can't get those in there. What are we doing? I'm screwing up. Okay, 19, it's a 19. It's a 19 millimeter. Lug width. Height-wise, a little tough here because the band is slightly in the way. 47.6. It's a relatively short lug width length compared to the overall width of the case, which is what made this kind of nice on the wrist, even though it's a large watch, by the standards of that time. I have a bunch of bands here, by the way, just in case any of you are interested in any of these watches. These are all 20 millimeter. I've got a nice rubber dive band here. I've got a hemp band here. I had this on a watch. I wore it in the apartment. Never wore it outside, so it's in great shape. I've got a Zulu style single pass here in camo. I've got a decent green one. This was on a watch. Again, I only had this on a watch sitting in the box, so while you see an indentation here, there's no muck on it, no sweat, anything like that. And I have another waffle strap here. Well, tropical style rubber kind of, what's the word? What's that? Rubber slash, I can't think of the term. This is more supple and softer to the touch. So if you, let's say you said, hey Mike, I like that A.D.D dive, but I'd like it on this because of that. Or if you want that included with this A.D.D dive, just let me know if you're into it. And email me at mike@mikezdesign.com. I'll put that in the description. But again, I haven't seen another video where people have compared the watches for you all in one video. So I just wanted to do that for you. As you can tell, I'm a little ADHD. I'm a little obsessive. I need to handle it. I can look at the specs online, and I have calipers and all that good stuff. I'm obviously keeping this watch, but everything else pretty much is up for grabs. I'm keeping these two, actually. Those two are mine. But these are really nice, beautiful, well-made watches. Okay, they all have Seiko movements, every single one of them, right? So they've all got the NH35, with the exception of the Turtle. I think that's an NH36 because it has the day and date. The rest of these just have date windows. They all have frame date windows with the exception of, again, the modern version of the Seiko did not put a frame around the date, which I find interesting. They just wanted to make it different for some reason. They did make another reissue of this earlier. I'm not sure when it came out, maybe 2019. Not positive on that. And that watch, I believe now I see them for $3 to $4 grand. So you could spend that, or I waited on this. Originally, these were $180 or so, $200, and I kept looking at them, and one finally popped up at $140. So I snapped it up then. This one was more, you know, being bronze, and he sent me a bunch of straps with it at the time. So yeah, again, the A.D.D's dive comes in its box. So I think, just think here before I sign off for you, if there's anything else I can tell you. These watches here all have close to 40 hours of power reserve, I believe, over 30 hours for sure. Power reserve, all that means is once it's, okay, they all have winding and hacking. Okay, if you don't know what that is, they all have locking screw-down crowns. You have to unscrew it, you'll get a pop, and at this point right here, you can wind the watch. If I pull the crown all the way out, the second hand stops. It's the same for all these watches. And if you push it one click in, I can then adjust the date wheel, which I'm not going to do right here because it's set for me. So every watch here functions exactly the same. And as far as I know, I set them all last night. They're all still running. They all function flawlessly. This Detroit Mint is really, I think it's a beautiful watch. When I got it, I've not worn any of these out other than these two. And they're still in really perfect condition. As I said, no scratches or anything like that. But this watch I only ever put on at night in the apartment, and I just loved looking at it from this angle. There's something about a domed crystal with the distortion that it creates on the dial that, again, it tickles me. It just makes me happy. Just makes me happy. So there it is, a complete collection here of all of what you can easily purchase right now online, on eBay. As far as, you know, the Willard versions of these watches. This is it right here. Again, this is only here to show you where we're at today in 2023. If you were to buy a Turtle today, that's what you got. These watches here all represent the lineage. These were the first. The first really was the 62 Mas, which actually, they called it the 62 Mas. It didn't come out till 1965. And then there was another watch, I guess it's pretty rare, between the 62 and the 69, 68 version, the 6105 they call it here. The neat thing about the Detroit Mint is they got that right on the dial. So they got, of course they put limited edition, but the 6105 and the 8110, that's something you will see on the original Seiko dial. So it is interesting how each of these watches, whether you're looking at the Detroit Mint or the A.D.D's Dive or the SteelDive, of course Seiko never made this in bronze back then, or this Redune, they all did different things to capture the details, all without getting it exact. And there's probably a reason for that. Might be some sort of design copyright. That would seem to make sense to me, but I'm kind of talking out of my butt there on that. Even this little detail underneath the coin edge that you can see here, those little lines, that seems more accurate to, I believe I saw that on another Seiko somewhere that I own. Maybe it's on this one. It is not. The bezel action, just real quick, you might be able to hear this. It's all great. It's funny because this is what kills me about Seiko. All of these watches here that basically are coming out of China. Oops, I went too far. Trying to always, whenever you do that through the camera, it's always a little bit tedious here. Bear with me, please. So all of these watches, I went too far again. Oh, there we go. They all line up. Every one of these lines up well. So, whoops, sorry. it's interesting to me that a lot of Seikos, when you buy them, I want you to hear the ratcheting here. So this one's slightly off, maybe? And that's on there. Pretty well. Pretty well. I mean, close enough is pretty good when you realize that this one is, I know the A.D.D's dive is great. Now, do you hear that? The A.D.D's dive is a lot smoother. The Detroit Mint and the SteelDive are fine. I mean, they're awesome. You would love to fidget with them if you had them. There you go. So that one, the A.D.D's dive is perfect, which, again, this was the first Willard copy. Perfect timing with the helicopter. It's like Apocalypse Now right now. This Redune, listen to that. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Now, listen to the Seiko. You could tell that's got to be a manufacturing thing, by the way, because it's like a dent. It's not a scratch. See that? So the color's not removed there. And you can see, typical of Seiko, I mean, depending, if you hold it like that, it looks great. I guess it's pretty much on. But slightly off. And every Seiko's like that. You could spend $3,000, $4,000 on a Seiko, and that's what you end up with. And Seiko lovers accept it. Believe it or not, the Redune, which is the one I'm keeping, in my opinion, beats the Seiko on as far as this bezel alignment, the bezel clicking, the action on it. The specs are way more spot on to the... So here we are. Let's see. So the first watch here is the new Turtle next to the reissue Seiko. Next to the A.D.D's dive, and the A.D.D's dive has green on the dial. It might be overexposed here, obviously, on this phone. Blue on the bezel. The all blue, as we know, is the Bronze SteelDive. Then we have the Detroit Mint, and finally the new, to me, Redune, which is all green. It's overexposed, and of course, it's not pitch black here. But the lume on these is all pretty decent, as we can see. I wish I could make this darker for you. As it gets darker, we lose focus, but... So, the lume on all the available that I'm aware of, Willard watches, Willard homages, copies, all that good stuff. That's it for now. Have a great day. Thank you for being here. I'll catch you all in the next one.